Real quick, is there a link while it's going that I can share with folks?
I just put it on my Facebook page.
Yeah, we live, y'all. So
yep.
I'll share. I'll put the link in the private chat. Guys, what's going on? It's your boy Oshay Duke Jackson. Back at it again, guys. I really appreciate you brothers for coming on. Today we have a panel, very high esteemed, successful African American men that was brought together by Dr. Thunder. You guys probably remember him. I was on his podcast earlier. I will let him introduce himself because he's the one that organized a panel of a very esteemed, very successful African American brothers. Some of these brothers are pastors in African American congregations throughout the country. But today's topic we're going to be discussing is why African American men are leaving the church, right? And we want to have these brothers introduced. But I'll start with Dr. Thunder. Let him introduce himself, and we'll go from there.
Hello, yes, I am Dr. Thunder, and thank you, Oshay, so much for agreeing to do this. We wanted to do this because we saw certain topics that you were covering, and I'm heavily involved in the Black church, and I know you have been, along with everyone on the panel. So, yeah, that's all I got for right now.
All right, so we will allow each person to introduce themselves. We'll start with from Pastor John Coates, and then we'll work our way around. We'll go from Coates to Pastor Brooks, Brother Harden, Easton, and TK Coleman. So go ahead, Pastor Coates, and introduce yourself.
Well, thank you. Greetings, everybody. I'm Pastor John Coates. I pastor the Metropolitan Church of God in Christ in Columbus, Ohio. I'm president of our local ministerial alliance, the IMA of Columbus. I've been in the Black church all my life, and I've been a reformer in the Black church for half my life.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Pastor. We'll go with Pastor Brooks.
Hello, everyone. I pastor a church in two campuses, Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids. And actually, since COVID, obviously, our internet campus has been our main campus. And I think I'm going to keep it that way. The reach is so much wider. But I'm a reformer also. I appreciate that. What the other brother said. It's really some changes necessary in the church. So good to be here with you guys.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. We'll go to brothers. I believe the next person is Brother Hamilton Harden.
Hey, I'm Hamilton Harden here in Atlanta, Georgia. I, by profession, am a musician and producer and have played in the Black church since I was 5. So, yeah, glad to be here with you brothers.
Okay. Thank you so much. And it seems like somebody's having a clicking sound. I don't know who that is.
I turned my mic off in the stage, and so
okay. I think that was there's your mic. Okay. Maybe let's see. We'll go to Brother Cedric. Go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Cedric Easton. I too, like Brother Harden, have served as a musician in the Black church from a very early age, probably within a healthy range of 6 and 10 years old. I've also served as a worship pastor, a fine arts director in the Black church, and I am about 4 generations deep in pastoralship, and specifically in the Church of God in Christ. So I'm really happy to be here.
All right. Thank you so much, brother. And then we will go to Brother TK Coleman.
What's going on, everybody? My name is TK. I am a PK. I grew up in Chicago, Illinois. My father's a pastor, still is for over 40 years. And anybody that's grown up in the church, and the Black church in particular, knows that I've probably spent more time in church services for the first 15 years of my life than the average person does their entire lifetime. Church almost 5 to 6 days a week, several hours long. So I know all about that experience, but I love it. I'm one of those people who cherishes my experience growing up in the Black church. I'm fond of it. I still identify as a Bible believer. So that's my intro.
All right. So, guys, I want to kind of, Dr. Thunder wanted me to moderate this. So I'm involved in several communities. I do identify myself also as a Christian, but I'm also very heavily involved in Pan-African, or what you would call the pro-Black community, which consists of the Nation of Islam, 5% Nation, Hebrew Israelite. You guys know the Hoteps, the agnostics, all of those, the Hebrew, all those people are in those groups. And a lot of people believe that Christianity has hurt the African-American community. It's hurt Black men. It doesn't do anything for the community. And that's why you see a lot of Black men leaving, going to more male-dominated religions like Islam, things like that. I want to start with Pastor Coates. Why are Black men, African-American men, not involved in the church as they were, let's say, 30, 40 years ago?
Well, I think is a relevant question, and I thank you for asking the question. I think the fact of the matter is that Black people are leaving the Black church. When Gallup, when they're telling the truth, they're saying that over the last 10 years, that close to 20% of the Black church has left. People have left the church, and I believe that Black men in particular are leaving the church because of lack of relevancy to them. They don't see application, inspiration, support from the Black church or from pastors that's directing a message to Black men. Another issue is that as the church has become more charismatic in its behavior, not in its doctrine or theology, but in its behavior, that I don't believe that's necessarily appealing to Black men. The charismatic expression, the shouting, the rolling on the floor, those various Pentecostal expressions. I'm in the Church of God in Christ, and we see it often. A lot of that is done with a feminine type of characteristic. So a Black someone losing control of themselves. I'm going to lose control of myself, and I'm going to run down, do 2 backflips, and pass out on the altar. Who wants to lose control of themselves? So when a Black man goes to church, he wants to see masculinity. And he wants to hear a story that's telling the truth that applies to him, that he can walk away with something as a stronger man, not as a beat down on a Sunday morning because the preacher may be happening to cater to the majority of the women in the church. So sometimes those messages is that your man ain't this, your man ain't that, and everything your man isn't, Jesus is. So the message has not been, and that's not, of course, I'm not talking about every church, because that's certainly not the message in my church, but in several churches that I know. But in many churches, that message is not applicable to the Black man.
Facts.
Wow. And that right there, we can end the show right there. Dr. Thunder, go. What's your interpretation of the question?
Yeah. So I've been involved more in the manosphere, the Black manosphere, since the pandemic started. And, I had certain sort of questions about the state of the dating market and, reflecting back on, relationships that I had and then just conversations with other guys about the sort of disproportionate number of negative sort of experiences folks were having. And so I found a lot to agree with. But, I've been in church for, all my life, and I'm the minister of music at a church. And I have a lot of questions about, not at the church that I work at, but just in general, some of the messaging coming from the pulpit, and how it seems to be a lot of finger wagging at the men. And part of that, it makes sense, because if most of your church is single mothers, frankly, if most of your church is single mothers, then, you're probably not going to say a whole lot of stuff that's going to sort of call certain judgments, into question. That doesn't make a lot of sense. And, watching one of your videos, you were talking about how, one of the issues is that Black men don't tend to speak up. We kind of just let stuff happen. And, and I just, I'm interested in, dialoguing and having conversations about these things, because, Black men are leaving the church, and they're leaving the church in quick numbers, big numbers. And what seems to be happening also is that there's like this nexus between the Black church and the Black manosphere, where the Black men that are leaving the church, they're rushing, into the manosphere. So that's why I thought this was a interesting, conversation.
Okay. No. Great points. Let's go to Pastor Brooks. If we can get Pastor Brooks to weigh in. I think he's on mute. Let me get him off of mute. Go ahead, Pastor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I think you got a few problems. When I started pastoring, I had a church full of women, and I happened to have take a trip to Dallas. And on the plane back, I was sitting with a white gentleman who's a minister at a church in Saginaw, Michigan. I'm on the other side of the state. And he looked at me and he said, "Can I say something to you that's been my experience?" I said, "What is it?" He said, "The Black churches in Saginaw, the women are so committed to the pastors that they'll break up their marriages."
Whoa.
And I knew I was having a Kairos moment, because I was a brand new pastor. I went back, got all the women off the board, and told them, I said, "You go home and tell your husband that Pastor Brooks said, if you're not happy at home, you can't serve your church." Okay? Because we force men to compete with us as pastors. And women see us their best hour all week, our best hour all week. Okay? The rest is downhill, but they don't see it. And then they wind up comparing their husband to that, and they invest in vision. Some of their husbands don't have vision, and in general, I believe women are great at making vision happen. They're looking for something to do. They're looking for a vision to be part of. And so we had to intentionally turn away from women to men and say that we are a ministry to men for women. Okay, because for every one woman that wants to preach, 9 of them want a husband. And so, so the women who felt they were being discriminated against got mad, but most of the women got happy, because we were investing in their husbands. And at one point, we were actually had an article on us in Charisma magazine on being 50-50 men and women. Now, of course, that doesn't last long because the women hear about it, But we've intentionally became a church that ministered to men. I quit dressing up all flashy, drove a regular Earthlings car, and told the women, "Do not quote me. Don't go around." I said, because you women wouldn't put up with it. You wouldn't put up with, your husband sitting there watching some lady, man, hanging on her every word, talking about her clothes, quoting her, putting her tapes on, putting her CDs in. Ask her, so, well, honey, what's for dinner? I don't know. Go ask your pastor. They wouldn't put up with it, but we expect men to put up with that. To come someplace where men are obviously playing to women. What man's gonna put up? I'm not gonna put up with that.
Wow, that's a great point, brother Harden.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think dealing with larger churches, because so much of the mega church experience is non-communal, what ends up happening, everything is on stage. And so what's on stage ends up being a situation where masculinity, as a musician speaking, dealing with the music and the music portion of service, masculinity has left for a large portion of the music, and it's sort of indicative of what you see with the music industry, the gospel music industry, whether it be with choirs or with solo artists. There becomes more and more of a lack of masculinity. There's been several times in listening to, having the radio on shuffle or my iTunes on shuffle, that the artist I'm hearing, I literally can't tell whether it's a man or a woman. And I go back in my mind back to the days of, Fred Hammond, Marvin Winans. Men had like a sound when, I don't know, it just sounded like we sounded like men. And now it's becoming really, I don't know if the male artists are just really influenced by the female artists that are out, but male artists in general are starting to sound a lot like women. And that creeps into the church because, we're covering a lot of the songs. And so as a masculine man, it just becomes very unappealing. So yeah, I think that has a great part into why, black men are leaving the church.
Wow, these are things I never thought about, man. Okay, let's go to Brother Cedric, and then we go to Brother Coleman. Go ahead, Brother Cedric.
Yes, sir. Honestly, I still have more questions than answers, to be honest with you. So my direct answer is I'm not exactly sure, right? My observation is that I think sometimes the Black Christian church at large can create like maybe if not create, but cultivates a sense of submission that's not necessarily attractive to us as men. And I believe that sort of puts us in a position where we have to, observe some of it confronts our inner self, and we have to deal with things that don't necessarily resonate, right? So for me, I think that's really what it's about. Like the environment that's cultivated don't necessarily speak to us or speak to our masculinity equally. It's not socially relevant at times. It's not, economically relevant at times. And then, as I think the pastor alluded to earlier, the system that's set up in terms of the hierarchy, where you may have someone that you're engaging, your spouse, your wife, or your family, following after someone else. And that's just, I think for a man that wouldn't work, and it wouldn't be as attractive. So.
Okay. No. Great points. And Brother TK, the lifer, you've been in church for a long time. Go ahead, brother.
A long time, guys. Well, I think about a verse in Ecclesiastes where it says that I've observed slaves riding about on horseback and princes walking about on foot as if they were slaves. I think the great tragedy of life is that as men, we were created to live lives of power and possibility, but we actually live lives of bondage and enslavement because we don't know who we are, what we're capable of, and why we are here. And the purpose of the church is to help us discover and do that. Jesus echoed these sentiments when he said, I have come that you might have life and life more abundantly. The book of Genesis tells us that we were created in the image and likeness of God. We're meant to exercise dominion over the earth. We're meant to be individualized expressions of creative ability. And the church has replaced a gospel that is meant to teach us about that with a gospel of sin management, a gospel that literally idolizes all of the wrong things that we shouldn't be doing. We have forgotten why sin is such a tragedy. It's not a tragedy because God doesn't want us to have fun. It's a tragedy because it blinds us to our potential and causes us to miss out on all the beauty that we're meant to create. And so I think there are so many men in the church today who have all of this ambition, all of this passion, this desire for power. And the only thing the church is teaching them is all of the sinful ways that they should not express it. And so when the manosphere and other places say, hey, men, let us tell you what your feelings are for. Let us tell you what your sexual energy is for. Of course, they're going to listen because the church isn't doing its job.
Let me ask a question to the entire panel, because I know that when we were in the manosphere maybe a few years ago, we didn't have, at least I don't think, the ears of the professional African American class brothers as much as we do now. But as are all of you familiar with what is known as the Black manosphere that are on the panel? Okay, what now? Why do you believe? And I want to know this because, as professional African American men that done things in your life, what then can be done in the state of where the church is today to win African American men who have lost hope in the church in the last 40, 50 years? Is there any hope that those guys are going to come back? And if so, how do you get them back? Anybody can start. It's no order this time. Go ahead, Pastor Brooks.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I believe absolutely. I believe they have to. They have to come back. But I think it's a matter of come back to what?
Right.
As the other brother mentioned, I can't remember all the names, but he said he's a reformer. So when you are reforming something, you want to go back to the original blueprint and the pattern. And that is, why do you even go to church anyway? And I think that's why a lot of people leave, because they lost touch with why. I asked, one guy asked me, because we have a large church in a small town. He said, why do you people come to church? I said, to be transformed, man, to have their lives, be connected with God and live on purpose and be successful. And I said, well, why do people go to church in your city? He said 3 things: to see their friends, to see what everybody has on, and for entertainment. And so he didn't even stop. The best preachers, the best choirs get the biggest crowds. And so he didn't even think about it. And so I think we've lost touch with what even the purpose of the gospel is, the purpose of the church. And the one brother was really hitting him when he said, we've changed the message. And so you ask yourself, I know why I go to Red Lobster. I know why I go to the doctor. I know why I go to school. Why do I go to church? And so we have to go, and that purpose is still needed. That ministry that we're called to is still needed. And once we start doing it, I've never had trouble getting men in church. And we quit playing to the feminine and actually quiet down some of these feminine men, because guys, real men, have an aversion to that stuff. They don't want to be identified with that. And so there's some things that we need to do intentionally to get them back.
When you said things to be done intentionally, can you just briefly, what are some of those intentional things?
Okay, well, how can I say it? Men we're less emotional driven. Like one brother said, you run down to the end of the aisle and all that stuff. I don't need that every week. I don't need a diet, of that. If something breaks out one Sunday out of the year, then cool. But I don't need that every week. And so I need to know how to solve problems. And is the Bible a relevant book for solving the problems that I face? How to live with my wife, how to support my family, how to make it around the obstacles and not shoot nobody. You know what I'm saying? How to maintain myself, how to have self-control, how to have vision, how to walk those things out. And I think when people are exposed to that, they relate to it and they're drawn to it.
Okay, anybody else? Oh, Pastor Coates, go ahead.
And I thank Pastor Brooks for his contribution, and I think that the process of problem solving just doesn't take place on Sunday morning or on a Wednesday night. It's a 7-day-a-week process. The Black church is embedded in the Black community. In every neighborhood, there may be 2, 3, 4, 5 auditoriums, multiple classrooms, boardrooms. The church is set up to be an educational institution within our community, and we must educate our people. How Carter G. Woodson said, the miseducation of the Negro. Well, we need to educate the folks, because people need answers, they need problem solving, and we need to be aggressively engaged in solving the problems that Black men contend with day in and day out, helping us to navigate through a complicated system. See, Black people and Black men, we just don't, we live in the general society. And the general society has put messaging out to everybody in the society. Brother Hamilton talked about music, and he didn't know rather if a man was singing or if a woman was singing on songs. Well, I remember when they started to introduce these homogenous looking men. Remember when Prince and Michael Jackson hit the secular community, the church was eventually hit with a tone. You know,
Oh yeah,
Black man singing gospel with a boa around his neck, and that whole thing it just blew up within the church world, because the secular community, the secular world said that we are going to value this femininity in men, and the church went on and sucked it up. And we looked around and said, "Oh well, my God, there's hardly any strong men in the church." So I believe we can get the men back if we change our messaging and offer something to our people that will allow them to navigate through this system.
Pastor. Before, let me just ask one more quick question. Thank you, Brother Brian, for the $20 super chat. Brothers, make sure you guys like the video as you're here. But just one question before we go to the next person. You said there are some problems that African American men need to be solved that should be addressed. Can you give us an example of what you're talking about?
Well, employment is an issue.
Okay.
We have many brothers that are on paper, and therefore having difficulty gaining a livable wage, and having problems gaining money because of what they may have done in the past. We have to find ways to get over that. If entrepreneurship is the answer, well, we need to focus on what businesses can they go into and make some money. Child support is an issue as well. You know, we ought to deal directly with that, and to see if men are being treated fairly as it relates to what they're being assessed, as well as if they even have access to their children. There's multiple issues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I thank you. Thank you so much, Pastor. Thank you, Brother Uncle Tony Davis, for the 1999 super chat. Guys, continue to make sure you like the video. Let's go. Who's the next person that wants to? Pastor Brooks, I'll come right back to you real quick. Go ahead, Pastor Brooks, and he wants to say something. And we'll go. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The Bible is perfect for where Black people are. The Bible was written in the context of a people being delivered from slavery. And so if we actually believe the book, then the Bible, if you have a past, then the Bible is your book, because the Bible delivers you from your past and gives you the same future you were meant to have. It doesn't consult your past. If you need provision, if you need to know how to make it, the Bible is the perfect book for you. The Bible is based on love. So it's a perfect book for relationships and those kind of issues. And so we just haven't preached it that way, man. We just haven't dealt with the scriptures and the Bible and the gospel in its true form, the way it was meant to be presented. It is the perfect solution to every problem that Black people face.
Okay, who wants to jump in next?
I'll jump in.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, you know, one thing. So the most fundamental relationship, the one that facilitates everything else, is the relationship between a man and a woman. And as that relationship in the Black community appears to be under fire, under attack, and there's this wedge dividing Black men and Black women, patching up that chasm, whatever can be done to patch that chasm up is critical. And the church The Black church should be primarily involved in patching that relationship. Now, part of what has to happen is the church has to start calling folks out when they're doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing. When they're doing stuff that is, and when they see things that are unfair, when they see things that are hurting men, hurting our relationships, hurting the relationships that we have with our kids, stuff like child support, the way that the laws are, the way that divorce adversely impacts men. The church should be leading the charge in trying to get some of these policies, some of these laws changed. But frankly, I think the Black church is not necessarily interested, or hasn't been interested, in fighting those battles, because I think most of the people that the Black church is serving these days are single mothers. And again, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but this is facts. This is one of the only places to actually have real conversations about issues that Black men deal with is the Black manosphere. And and it seems to me that the manosphere exists because places like the Black church were not willing to have those conversations. One of the things that has to happen is we have to have more conversations. We need more conversations like this kind of conversation. Black churches should be opening their doors to, to have these kinds of panel discussions on a regular basis. If you want to get Black men back in the church, you have to offer things that Black men need.
Oh, that's a great question, because my next round of questions is going to address something similar. I think brother Easton, and then we go to Brother TK Coleman. Go ahead, Brother Easton.
Yes, sir. I'll try to keep it short. So, to me, and not to attack, I'll say we, right? Anybody who is serving in leadership in any local ministry, I think we have to have a commitment to certain things. I think we have to have some type of commitment to address fundamentally whatever our principles are, right? Understanding the Bible, being open to that, and being able to address some questions and inquiries that people have, right? So I think that's number one, because that's going to at least give you a foundation that kind of guides us. So we have to be committed to that. I think we have to be committed to actively engaging the community that we're a part of, because sometimes I think as growth happens, you completely forget, everything and everyone that you're around. And it goes, you may see a church that's based in an area that has a lot of problems, and that church is not making an attempt to address it at all, And I also think that we have to have the leaders, we have to have a commitment to address some of these infrastructure challenges, kind of like what Dr. Thunder just mentioned. Who are we talking to? Who is our audience? What is the sort of the I don't want to say the objective, but what is the order and that we establish, and how do we address that? Does it work for us? Does it work for our constituents, if you will? Does it work for our patrons, if you will? Does it work? And if it doesn't, then what do we do to address that as it pertains to our core and our our foundation, which should be based in the Bible?
Mm-hmm. No, man, some great answers. Let me just do this real quick. I want to shout some brothers out for super chats. Brother Chief Drumo, we'll answer that question in just a minute, brother. We'll a clear explanation of the curse of Ham, why it is used in every Abrahamic religion to enslave Black people worldwide. I think we'll ask our pastors that. Brother Muhammad, I'm a Muslim, but thank you for these conversations. It affects us all in the Black community. Let's go to Brother TK Coleman, and we'll let him speak, and then I'll go ahead, Brother Coleman.
Thank you, brothers. I think it's really easy to adopt explanations for failure that are designed to make us comfortable and soothe our egos. And it's much harder to be honest about our failures in a way that allows us to get better. And I think as a church, we're very vulnerable to the temptation to dismiss people that reject our messages as people that just don't care about the truth anymore. So imagine if, for instance, I ran a business and it was a restaurant. No one ever ate at my restaurant, but there are other places around me and they go to all the other restaurants. It would be soothing to my ego to explain this failure by saying, well, I guess don't nobody like good food no more. That makes me feel good because I don't have to improve. I get to be self-righteous and assume that I'm doing everything correctly. And the problem is that everyone else has poor taste. But the only way to get better is to say, man, I'm failing. Even if my food is good, there's got to be something at the level of how I'm providing the service, the clarity of my menu, the aesthetics of the restaurant. I am clearly getting something wrong if I have something to offer the world that's good enough to get results. And I think the problem with teaching is that we often assume that we are entitled to an audience, and we forget that the only way you get to be a teacher is you earn the student's attention. And how do you do that? You do that not by giving answers, but by paying attention to the questions that people are wrestling with. And then you don't compromise your truth, but you give them the truth in a way that clearly addresses the fundamental questions of life that they struggle with. This is our job as the church. Jesus did not spend his time standing in front of a synagogue begging people to walk in. He went out to the people themselves and he had conversations with them, and he spoke the truth to each individual person differently in a way that was relevant to what they were going through. And we have to return to that role.
Okay, no, great response. Let me get brother. I think brother Hamilton. I don't know if he spoke on this round. Go ahead, brother Harden.
Yeah, I've been first of all enjoying what everyone's saying. I think the church culture, well, the Black church culture has become a culture within itself, and I think sadly the basis of that culture has not been the Bible. It's been more in industry, and more of a money making machine, as opposed to what the Bible clearly tells us the church is to be doing. The question came up. I think it was Dr. Thunder that mentioned, why isn't the church functioning in the role of calling things out as it should? Well, I think part of that is because we're not being the pointers to God's objectivity that his word clearly shows. Because as human beings, man or woman, Black or white, humans in general view their lives as a movie where they're the star, and generally it's never their fault, generally speaking. And what the beauty of community that Jesus desires for his church to have is that there is objectivity, that there is healthy, holy confrontation. But that is, I think, for a lot of churches, the last thing on the mind. The first thing is, okay, our stage production. How can we get more fog machines? How can we get more laser lights? Killing band, whether they're believers or not, let's just make sure the band is smashing. The singers, who cares? Whatever's happening in the personal life, or even if they're a believer at all, let's just make sure they're doing that. We need a great extroverted preacher that's going to preach me happy, and then we'll see the offering go up. That has been the sort of the focus of what I've seen in a lot of churches. And I think Jesus taught about a broad way and a narrow way. And what he prophesied and says is going to happen is happening. The broad way is getting broader, and the narrow way is getting more narrow. And I think I don't think we should be as surprised as we are that it's happening. I think we have to recognize what it is, focus on the Bible, and make sure as a church that we are functioning as the Bible. I keep bringing that up because that has to be our basis of what we're doing. Otherwise, we're all just sort of going, along with what culture says we should do, and let's just make a good presentation. But I think if we get back to the Bible base, that's why I was loving some of the comments that TK was making, and Pastor Coates, and just y'all have been just making a lot of great comments. And I think it all leads back to what are we doing to make sure that the church functioning church is functioning as Jesus, before he ascended back into heaven, expressed for us to do.
Okay, let me do this. I'm going to shout out to Brother Joe K. Black community doesn't work on improving the community. So let me do this. There are some brothers. Now, hold on. I'm trying not to curse tonight, you brothers in the super chat. But y'all know what time it is. You supposed to like the video and give me all your money. So I'm not gonna tell y'all again. Okay, y'all know what to do. So you'll get these likes up. Because this is my church. Y'all have to do what I'm not playing with y'all. Get these likes up. I'm not asking you nice. You know what you need to do. The likes are free. Jesus paid it all on the cross. They're free. Like the video. Okay. So I want to tell y'all again. Y'all know how it goes down. I've been dealing with y'all, dealing with you over. I want to curse bad. I'm gonna be nice tonight, but let me go back to these questions. The pastors that we have, if you can answer this question, would like a clear explanation of the curse of Ham, why it is used in every Abrahamic religion to enslave Black people worldwide. And then what I'll do though, after we answer this question, we will go back into maybe any other short comments you guys have. We're going to go into the third topic that I have for you guys. So if Pastor Coates, Pastor Brooks, you guys can brothers can answer that. Anybody else want to give an answer on this one? You can. But let's let our pastors. Let's start with Pastor Coates, and then we go to Pastor Brooks and with this question.
Okay, well, gather around, everybody. It's Bible story time. The story is about Noah, and after the flood, God blessed Noah and his sons. He told them to go out and be fruitful and to multiply. So Noah, he planted a vineyard, and he got drunk and was naked in his tent, and his son Ham discovered him and told his brothers of his father's condition, and his other sons went and they covered him up. So when Noah woke up, he was upset that with the son Ham for not covering him for his nakedness. That's if I remember the story correctly, and he cursed him. Now that's the story in the Bible. But that story was used by white supremacists to manipulate and to justify slavery. They manipulated with it, and they justified slavery because Ham, I think it's the father of Canaan, was black. Well, all of them was black, actually. I'll tell you the truth about it. But they used it to justify slavery around the world, a worldwide slavery system. They used it when they went into Africa. They used it when they took the Africans to Brazil. They used it in the United States. The Dutch Reformed Church used it in South Africa. It was a product of white supremacy.
Okay. And I think Pastor Brooks is there. All right, go ahead, Pastor.
Yeah. It's around in the 1600s. They created this thing called race. Okay, the Bible is not race sensitive. The Bible is sensitive to ethnicity. Where and what ethnicity is families. So and so, the son of so and so, the son of so and so, the son of so and so. Okay, and so these anthropologists came up with race out of atheism. Okay, because if we're evolving, I remember looking at the list of the prehistoric beings, and I look more like an ape than anybody else in the class. Okay. And so the whole idea with atheism and racism and eugenics is that Black people are less developed. We are closer to how can I say it? We are less evolved than other people. Okay, which justified the slavery. We were called savages, close to animals. They had a guy at the 1906 World's Fair, a pygmy who was the missing link. Okay, and so Christians, in order to embrace slavery, embrace this teaching on the curse of Ham. The Bible never says Ham is cursed. It says Canaan was cursed. Okay. And it was made almost like an eternal thing. And then you have racism, and you look at the plight of Black people and say, okay, well, that's proof of the curse. But it's just a lie. It's a misinterpretation of scripture. It's just simply not true. It was never true. Ham was never cursed. And when you look at it, when you look at genealogies, which the Bible warns us about studying, okay, it's just not plausible. Okay, we are descendants of Cush, which was the son of Ham, but it never said Ham was cursed. It said Canaan was cursed. Okay, and so now the problem with that is that we have this black box that has been created to communicate to us that we are less than, and that's the whole thing. Is it's about being less than. Okay, and so the Christians embrace the curse of Ham to justify slavery. Well, they're cursed. Okay, and so they knew better than the curse of Ham, because we were all created in the image of God. So they knew better than that. Okay, but they knew better than evolution. Let me say it that way. They knew better than that because they know we were all created. Okay, we didn't evolve, we were created. Okay, and so it's just a lie, man. It's just an abject lie that continues to be taught in Bible schools. It continues to be embraced in churches, and it needs to be confronted. I've confronted it, and the Christians need to let it go, man. There's no cursed people.
Okay. Any other brothers want to give a stab at this? If not, we can go to the next topic. But if any of the brothers don't want to, because the next one's gonna be anybody else want to weigh in on this? Y'all want to go to the next one?
Yeah, we could go on to the next one.
All right, we'll start with Dr. Thunder this time. Okay, so if you brothers are familiar with the Black manosphere and some of the things that we have talked about since I would say this generation, since 2015, one of the issues that a lot of Black men have is that there's so many single mothers, because you have so what we see in the Black community is a lot of Black men don't have kids, and then you have a certain number of Black men that have a lot of kids, and you have a lot of Black women that have kids with a smaller number of Black men, and a lot of Black women have kids with more than one man. So in situations you see sisters in these churches that have a kid by two or more different guys. It's not uncommon. So also what you're seeing with African-American men, as you know, more of them are going to school and the economies are opening it up. You're seeing Black men dating out. Okay. And because of the single motherhood issue that you have in Black America, a lot of Black men just don't feel, not a lot, but you have a good portion. I won't say like, most Black men are still dealing with Black women, but you have a lot of Black men that just don't think that Black women are worth marrying because of the single motherhood issues. And also a lot of entitlement is going on in the African female community, American female community, where they believe that they can have the kids and some guys going to take care of them, a la Russell Wilson, Sierra. And a lot of brothers are just not going for that. And so brothers are saying, listen, you can go to the Black church all you want, but you can keep them and them crumb snatchers and them kids over there over at Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church on Martin Luther King, right? A lot of African-American men are saying, hell no, we're going to be honest. Now y'all over here tonight. So a lot of brothers is talking about, hey, go get you a white woman that ain't got no kids. Go get you a woman over from Colombia, get you Afro-Latina, get you anything but one of these African-American women that are entitled, believing that Jesus is going to deliver a husband like, you know, UPS deliver Air Jordan shoes from StockX.com, you know. And this is where a lot of Black men are at. A lot of Black men are seeing a lot of African-American women. Also, we're going to talk about this. A lot of Black men who are professionals, Black men such as yourself, and maybe some of you brothers have had this happen before, that Black women are not interested also in a lot of professional Black men until they become successful. And at that time, that they've already become successful, got the PhD, the master's degree, the good business. Here they come with the 2 and 3 kids. Now all of a sudden they want to holler at a player, you know. And when the black man was trying to check for them, you know, back in when he was coming up, they didn't want nothing. But here go the white girl. Now, you know, a lot of black men are going to predominantly white institutions, the Michigan states, the Ohio states, like Dr. Wallace over there. So brothers are saying, listen, what incentive does the black church have for me? All y'all got is baby mamas. You know, we don't want to deal with that. And you know, there's even pastors trying to hook up their single mamas with brothers in the church. And a lot of brothers just don't want to sign up for that because, you know, with the child support laws, it's still way where now, if you are a brother on child support, let's say, for example, you could be dating a woman and the woman, you and her never get married. She can still hit you for child support in some cases because the child recognizes you as the father. So what's going to happen with the single mother issue that is scaring black men away from the black church? And there's just not a lot of a lot of black men or just don't think it's a lot of high quality women there for them to have. And I think a lot of brothers, we have 500 brothers in here. They want some answers with that. Anybody want to go first on this one? Dr. Wallace, you want to talk about this first?
Yeah, I could get in. So one of the main issues that causes men to seek out the manosphere is the single mother issue. And you know, I have a series of videos on my YouTube channel called Blue Pill Testimonials. And the very first one that I put out was, you know, basically something to the effect of, you know, don't date single mothers. And I basically chronicle my experience dating someone who had a kid, and then inevitably what happened was she ended up going back with the baby daddy, you know, and you know. Actually cheated with the baby daddy.
Oh,
yeah. So that's actually how that went down. But that's a pretty common sort of situation that happens, you know, when you're dealing with that kind of situation. So there's a couple statistics I think that are useful in understanding. There's this sort of 20-80 sort of rule or percentage where, and actually it might be more like 10% now, where it's like 20% of the men are sleeping with 80% of the women. And so you have a small percentage of guys that are fathering multiple children by multiple women. And it's something like 59% of baby mamas have multiple baby daddies. And, you know, when I was coming up, I remember getting clowned regularly because I talked properly, you know, so I'd be talking, you know, yep. Why you talk so proper? You know, it was you know, they were trying to drag me over that. Now, you know, you look back and those same girls that were clowning me, you know, they got, they got a bunch of kids and from
go ahead. Go open up, Doc. Go open up, Doc. Tell us about it.
So, you know, so there's that whole thing where you get clowned because you're trying to do something on the up and up and trying to make yourself better. And then, as you know, sort of climb and, you know, things start to go better for you and you start to get your money right. Then all of a sudden the women that didn't want to have anything to do with you, now they want to talk to you. This is such a common thing. Again, this is one of these sort of, ubiquitous realities and that drives men to the manosphere for answers. You know, like I said, this 80% thing, 80% of men are like totally invisible to women. Like women don't even, they don't even see them. as valid options. And so women that are complaining about where did all the men go, that's after they had, had been rejecting, in some cases, nuclear rejecting, all kinds of advances from all kinds of dudes, but they didn't even ever see those men as viable options for them. And honestly, I don't complain necessarily about that, and that's not necessarily, because I'm not part of that 80%. I've worked to make myself part of the top 10%, top 1%, whatever. I've worked to make myself that. So that was never going to be an issue for me. But it is an issue for most men.
Right. Oh, well, that right there was enough to save the entire Sacramento, where I'm from. That right there that you just said. Let me shout out to Brother Keith Jordan. When I was 20, I watched all my homeboys sneak back over to the baby mama's house while her new man was out at work. That changed my life dramatically. Now, see, we can't talk about that in church. Huh? Cook 'em, doctor. All right, let's go to who else wants to get in on this, brothers? You brothers is welcome to the conference. Who wants to get in on this?
Do you mind? I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted.
Go ahead, Brother Cedric.
No, do you mind just kind of like repeating the question, just so I'm clear about?
Yeah. So basically, brother, the lot of black men in our community here, we know a lot of single mothers are in the black church, and a lot of black men are saying now, well, why do I need to go deal with a lot of that? Because most African American women are Christian, so I don't want to deal with these these kids with baby mamas and a lot of professional brothers that like Dr. Wallace was saying, when they're young, sisters not checking for them. And then when the guys make it, they're not looking to become stepdads. They're looking to live their life too. That was a time where black men were, being a stepdad was okay. It's not okay now, right? A lot of African-American men are, traveling, doing things. So what is the incentive for black men to come and deal in the black church and build families with a lot of women that already have children, more than one child, right? That's the main question with that. Oh, go ahead. You want to answer that, Cedric, or you want to?
I want to think about it just a second.
Okay. We go to Brother TK. He seems like he's ready. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah,
TK always ready.
I think the fact that we're even asking this question is an indicator of just how much damage the church has already done with this guilt-based philosophy of choosing to make marital and dating decisions based on a sense of duty rather than a reflection of your own preferences and priorities. I mean, why would we even have to ask this? As men, you don't owe it to anyone to date someone or marry someone that you're not attracted to, that you don't want to be with. You don't owe anyone a favor to date them. In fact, no relationship will succeed if it's based on the premise that you're doing them a favor by being with them, or that they're doing you a favor by them being with you. So you don't need to respond to anyone's entitlement. In fact, it doesn't matter how entitled people are if you do not cave to it. If I have a consulting fee and you feel entitled to paying me less, what's going to happen when I refuse to cave to that and say, hey, man, it is what it is. If you're ready to pay that price, that's fantastic. If not, I wish you the best. The fact of the matter is, people do not respond to your complaints or to your tears when you whine about what you want out of life. They only respond to the respect that you demand. And what needs to be taught is for men to respect their own preferences and priorities and principles, and then to turn around and demand that respect from the people that they date, from the people that they marry. The fundamental economic truth is that people respond to incentives. And when we change the incentives, we change the behavior. So when other people feel entitled, as long as we give in to that, because we either feel bound by guilt or we feel a lack of respect for our own value, nothing is ever going to change. But it doesn't matter how entitled they are. If we respect ourselves and live out the way we want to live, that behavior will change. One last thing.
Oh, brother, you just summed it up. Go ahead.
All right. Jesus said that we should be as wise as serpents and as harmless as doves. The church loves to talk about the harmless as doves part. And that's where the nice guy beta male comes from. Because we talk about being pure, we talk about being kind, we talk about being merciful, we talk about being generous, but we don't talk about being cunning, being crafty, being strategic like the snake. And here's the thing, a lot of people come up in the church and they're taught to be generous and nice, but they're never taught that your niceness and your generosity doesn't mean anything and never will be appreciated or respected if it doesn't come from within the context of high value. If you are a person that's just saying yes to what everyone wants out of you without first demonstrating competence and high value, then you're just indistinguishable from a sucker. You are someone who is saying yes and accommodating others because you don't have anything to offer. And as men, we are not taught how to be high value. We're not taught how to be self-respecting people. We're not taught about our permission to say no to nonsense that we don't want to be a part of our lives. We're just taught how to feel guilty and be nice people and marry people we don't like, date people we feel sorry for. And we wonder why someone would go to the manosphere when the manosphere says you have the God-given right to honor your preferences and your principles. This is no surprise. This is logic, a logic that the church itself has willfully abandoned.
Stop simping. Stop simping. That's what he just said. Stop simping. Facts.
Oh, well, yeah. You know, you that's definitely a manosphere soliloquy right there. Let me the steel curtain. Well, Pastor, I'm coming right to you. Dang, I'm late for this intriguing discussion. I'll catch the replay. Here's a few bucks for the offer. It's actually so good. I was actually mad at Dr. Wall. I said, man, you schedule me this, man. You know I gotta be up, but I'm gonna get my coffee. This is such a good discussion, man. I'm actually thankful that we're having this discussion. It was turned out a lot better than I thought. So let me go ahead and thank you, Trotter Taz. Us as black men aren't taught to respect our own values and demand the same respect. We're taught to be the nice guy and suckers. Let me give a shout out to Ram Ben Israel, Trotter Taz. There's some other brothers that donated. I might have forgot Desmond Clark. Thank you. And then let's go to Pastor. We're gonna go to Pastor John Coates, the educated hooper and hollerer here. Go ahead.
Right. You know, in all of our rationalization of relationships and who we want, who's doing what and who's not doing what, and all of that, we have to realize that the black man and the black woman are dysfunctional. And we have to say, we have to deconstruct and find out why. Well, we already know why. Because we were brought up in a system that caused us to be dysfunctional. It was a master-slave relationship. And those that manipulated us and used us and had authority over us pitted black men against black women and black women against black men. Where I believe the church can come in and is begin again a re-educational process that begins to make dating, how we deal with each other in our dysfunctional states, how can we make it work together? The church can play a role in that, but it must play a role in the healing and not in the continual dysfunction and destruction of our people. I look at organizations like, let's say, the structure that the Nation of Islam put in place for dating. They knew that black men and black women, as it related to dating and their situations, needed rules and structure put in place so that we would, then those rules and structures were designed so that we wouldn't do any additional damage to ourselves in the relationship process. So I think the church can play a role, if it's willing to play a role in helping to not only to understand why. The gospel George Clinton opens up with the question, why must I? And we have to begin to really deconstruct it and answer the question as to why this is and why that is, and tell our people, this is what's happening to you. And then we can hit the override button and begin to function more properly.
Can I jump in here? Can you guys hear me?
I know I hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we hear you, said.
Okay,
Yeah, we
okay.
can hear you. Go ahead.
Got you. So, I mean, I kind of want to jump back. Like, basically, I'm hearing a lot. I think Brother TK was on point, and I hear you, Brother John. And I also want to not necessarily issue a challenge, but also maybe add an addendum to that, because I'm unwilling to give all the responsibility to our history, right? And which is relevant, both our biblical history, I would say, and also the narrative of our being here, which I think is also biblical history, based in Deuteronomy. So, but I also have to hold leadership accountable, because I think that, I hate to say it goes, on some level, we have to consider what I call the constituents and the patrons, money, right? So you have church leaders who are influencing the philosophy, the morality, and the spirituality of every man that comes through the doors, right? But it's clear that the numbers and being constituent and our patron is a woman. So generally speaking, right, or numerically speaking, so I think sometimes the systems, messages, the overall culture is cultivated for the people who are giving more consistently, And so I think, while I agree with you, I think there has to be some responsibility placed on the pastors, not attacking, but placed on the leadership of the local assembly, and at least questioned about some of these things that transpire. I just can't give it to again our history alone, because we have an opportunity all the time to address it and to change it. And I think a part of like when you guys talk about high value, right? So living in New York City, there clearly is competitive, right? So a part of the thing that makes you high value is that you're going to be able to compete on a level to rise above. I hear Brother Dr. Thunder talking about being in that top 20%, top 10%, top 1%. That means you at some point have overcome other people, which could be men. So sometimes I think in leadership, it's a tricky dynamic, because you want to maintain a certain type of position, but it may cause you to have to, I don't want to say, it's not quite predation, but you got to make sure, in order to maintain like your position and perhaps even your agenda, sometimes to make sure that other man, you have to overcome him in certain ways. And I think certain tactics are employed at that time by pastors, by leadership, and I'm talking about us, so I'm not necessarily attacking, but that creates this challenge that we're talking about. I mean, look, it's in the book of Samuel, right? Then he told him, like, yo, I don't want you guys to have a king, because I'm gonna be your king. And he said what would happen when you make other people your king. You dig what I'm saying? So like that actually happened, and I think there are many different forms of that happening right now. But that also comes with the territory of rising above. So it's, for me, it's kind of a tricky dynamic, but I'm not willing to take that accountability away from the leaders of the local assemblies.
Go ahead, Dr. Baker.
Speaking of the book of Samuel, I think it would be remiss if we didn't mention the Kevin Samuels, or as Solomon Jones put it, Thanos Samuels effect. And part of what made me interested in this topic was the success that Kevin Samuels has had.
Oh yeah.
How he has made, well, first of all, one thing that makes him different than a lot of the folks in the Black manosphere, in the manosphere period, is he's pro-marriage. He's been married twice. He still believes in marriage. He jokes that he's looking for his next ex-wife now. And the dude has been over singles ministries at big churches. And he says he's a Christian, and he's he's all about this sort of order of God, and he's very, very quick to check women for sort of riding out of pocket with respect to, you know, having a covering and either being their pastor or their husband or something. And it's this whole high value topic. We've mentioned the word high value a few times. Now, usually what folks try to do is they try to jump right in on the money aspect of this, right? And so that's the way that they try to shoot it down. Oh, it's just materialist thing. Oh, it's just, he's just trying to, you know, accumulate money so then he can just treat women any kind of way you want to, and all this kind of stuff. But that's not the only thing. That's only part of it. You know, having a network of other high value men, that's part of being high value, right? He frequently says that you can't be a high value loner. One of the impacts that Kevin has had is on me is that it's made me to start connecting things that I wasn't aware that they actually went together. Even the thought of creating this sort of dialogue between, the Black church and the Black manosphere. I mean, because but he's not the only one that has that sort of Christian leaning in the manosphere. Of course, Oshay, and a lot of content creators, like the roommates, for instance. There's a lot of folks in the manosphere, and they're giving really good, sound advice. But, you know, shout out to Kevin Samuels because, the dude's got a rocket on his back, and he's been preaching the gospel. Yeah, that's all I had.
Brother Oshay, can I get a chime in on something?
Yep.
All right. So the previous brother, I wish I could see the names, and Thunder. I want to bring those two comments together. And I'm gonna say something here that might get me kicked out the church. Okay.
Brother, please, we got a home for you here in the manosphere because you want to come. I know you want to come. Go ahead on and get kicked out. It's all right.
Oh man, I never knew I wasn't even part of it, man. The red pill is something I never had to take. You know, I'm a child of Zion. You know, never had to have the plug in my back. But I think pastors and preachers, people that carry the gospel out into the world, people that want to represent the kingdom of God, really need to learn the principles of economics, really need to learn financial literacy, really need to develop some skills that are valuable in the marketplace, and need to become economically self-sufficient. There's a saying that it's very difficult to help a man understand something when his paycheck depends on him not understanding. And when you haven't understood the money game, and when you haven't learned how to take control of your life by making money honestly through solving problems and creating value in the marketplace, you give the say to a whole lot of people over your time, your energy. And although everyone should be prepared to speak what's on his mind, regardless of the consequences, it's a heck of a lot easier to speak what's on your mind when you're not worried about somebody canceling your paycheck. When you are on top of your money game, it gives you a level of boldness because you own yourself and you can speak with conviction. Now, there's a second side to that when it comes to being effective. One of the reasons, and I don't think we can afford to ignore it, one of the reasons why a lot of people in the manosphere are more attractive to our young boys, guys like Kevin Samuels, guys like you, Oshay, is because these brothers are entrepreneurs who are demonstrating competence in the marketplace. And that is something that young men understand intuitively that they need to be. And they can tell when a man speaks with conviction and when a man is kind of afraid and kind of, thinking a little too hard about what he wants to say because he's afraid some sister's going to get mad and stop giving offerings. And although people might disagree with a lot of the things that are said in the manosphere, although things that are said in the manosphere might be very controversial, no one in this space minces words, man. People say what's on their mind. They speak from the heart, because they are economically self-sufficient brothers. And we need that. And we can't expect for people to respect us and listen to us if they looking at us and saying, I don't think I want to be afraid like you are. I don't think I want to adopt a quality of life that requires me to be, pretend to believe things that I really don't believe because I'm afraid my paycheck's going to be taken away. That's a huge part of the mission.
Wow. Go ahead, Pastor. Let's get Pastor. Pastor been wanting to say something. Go ahead, Pastor. Pastor, the white man holding you back. You go on mute. He's trying to hold you back. I know you got a word for us, Pastor, but the white man, there you go.
Well, see, the thing about it is when you come down to the money thing, it's not, money is a shallow conversation about it. You can't help people you need, okay? You can never help somebody who you need in order to make it. And so you're not gonna be honest with them. You're not gonna be straight with them. And so a lot of that has to do with just growing in your faith and knowing who you work for. Okay, I mean, if you are crafting a message in order to get money in the church, you need to do something else. You really need to be in the marketplace, because that's the kind of problems you solve in the marketplace. You serve hamburgers to people who want hamburgers, lobster to people who want lobster. Okay, the truth is a whole nother issue. If you are compromising the truth, okay, because you are concerned about the offering, then you are in the wrong place, because the truth is not that fluid, okay? And so it's not just an issue of being self-sufficient. You can't serve people who you need the approval of. And so the first thing you have to do is get over the people God sends you to. If he's going to send you to somebody, he's going to send you to change them, to challenge them. The Bible talks about the renewing of the mind. Only what is outside of your present thinking is positioned to renew your mind. So as a pastor, there's a tension between me and the congregation, because I'm speaking into who they are becoming, not to where they are, okay? And so if you're going to be involved in transformation, you have to be delivered from it and ready to pay whatever price they got coming. I mean, I worked before I was a pastor. I'll work I'll be fine if they fire me. But I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to change my assignment because I'm afraid to tell you the truth. And one of the words I don't hear is covenant. If you are a man, if you're a real man, you keep covenant. And if you're searching for a wife out of self-interest, because covenant is what protects you from self-interest. If you're searching for a wife out of self-interest, then you're probably going to miss the woman no matter what, because everybody comes with some issue. The whole idea of marriage is that I've taken my attraction to you and shifted it to my character, and keep my word and keep my commitment to you. Okay. And so if you are a child looking for a wife, you don't need one. You don't deserve a wife. Okay. When you find the treasure, the Bible says, then you buy the whole field. If you're not man enough to take whatever comes with the woman of your dreams, the woman you want to spend your life with, then you need to stay single.
Okay. Let me do this. Thank you, Pastor. We have Rashawn. TK needs to be on the platform more, brother. Yeah, TK, man. TK is really good, man. We got very, very good. All the brothers have been. It's been a wonderful. It's probably one of the better panels I've ever been on. Rambin Israel. I'm a 1 Peter 4 verses 11, brethren. Anything else in 10 plus 1 Corinthians verses 1-3, Ecclesiastes 12 verses 13. Spending my check ticks. Okay, all right. Thank you, brother. Okay, what do we? Okay, so anybody else wanted to weigh in on that? Any guys? Just any comments? You brothers want to say anything? We can go one more round if you guys want to, or go ahead, Pastor Brooks.
The Black family survived slavery, Jim Crow, and the persecution and the oppression of the 50s.
Okay.
One thing we haven't survived is welfare. And when they start helping us is when the family was destroyed.
That's true. Brother Hamilton hasn't said in a long time. Brother Hamilton, you want to get on this, brother?
I'm sorry, I'm sort of soaking it in right now. Plus my
I see you shaking your head up and down. So you even really feeling it.
No, I'm good right now. I'm sort of checking it out right now.
Yeah, and I want to again thank Dr. Thunder, because a lot of times we don't have a lot of platforms where a lot of Black men can just come in and just talk about the issues of the day. I was mad at Dr. Thunder like for hell. I was mad at Doc. I was like, let me say that, nigga. 3:30 in the morning in Poland, nigga. What's wrong with you, nigga? I don't have time to be on here with y'all. But you know what? I'm glad that because a lot of brothers across the nation of all age groups, we don't get to hear this side of the story from the pastors or from the brothers that's in the church, and we're finding out that well, damn, y'all feel the same way that we feel too. So I'm glad to know that, because a lot of brothers think that everybody in the church is some simps, the brothers in church is just, all y'all go to church, y'all don't see this stuff, y'all just caping for the sisterhood. But it's good to know that African-American men in the church are seeing the same problems that brothers in the Black community are seeing, and that we could bridge the gap. Because I think a lot of times there are a lot of African-American men in church, and I think brothers that's not in church look at brothers in church like, wait, hold on, man, what's going on? You in church, like, what does that mean, man? Are you funny style or something? Like, how could you go along with that? And it's good to know that brothers are able to see that. I'm a Christian, but I definitely know that we have some issues, and I'm glad that the pastors were able to come on and the ministers of music to come on and be able to bring, because Black men need to have these conversations because we don't have them. We don't have them.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Doctor. Go ahead. Let the Dr. Thunder thought. Brother Hamilton, white man holding him back. Brother, I see the white man holding you back. Go ahead, Dr. Thunder.
I just wanted to say again, thanks, Oshay, for doing this. And if you don't mind me plugging.
Do your thing.
All right. So actually, everyone on the panel right now are folks that I interviewed in my Conversations with Dr. Thunder podcast series on my YouTube channel. If you want to find me, it's Dr. Thunder Music. You can find me all over the place that way. My website is drthundermusic.com. And I have a show with TK Coleman. It's a bi-weekly show on Revolution One, on Revolution of One, rather, on that channel. And we talk about cultural events, and we talk about religion and politics and all kinds of stuff like that. Thanks again. Thanks again, Oshay. I also have a show actually coming up with Ike Ogiami, and we've got a twice a month show also. And I know Ike has been involved in your channel too, Oshay.
Oh, yeah. Let me do this before we go into the next. Let me do this. I can do even better than that. Okay. Do me a favor, guys. You guys see this link. Now the brothers have come over, the pastor. They've given us a hell of a show discussion. I want all you brothers to do me a favor. You see, this is Sean Thunder Wallace, and I actually did a response video to one of my actually, I think that video got like 30,000 views. Remember the video I did after our podcast?
Yes.
And I think I weighed my discussion more on how talked about more or less the church splits, how that happened. But guys, do me a favor, and I want all you brothers here tonight to go and subscribe to Dr. Sean Thunder Wallace. I did an interview. He was the one that really pushed this to happen tonight, and he really punked me into doing it too. So it wasn't like he wouldn't leave me alone. So that's what happened. But I'm glad he did. Let's support Black men, guys, because this is really what we've been wanting to bring the brothers in from all walks of life. And we even have pastors that we made it enough of a discussion. So guys, do me a favor and subscribe, hit the bell. He has 5,180 subscribers. I need at least 300 people to go subscribe. So guys, do that. And keep giving me y'all your money, because God ain't through with me yet. Y'all know what I'm gonna do with it. So you niggas keep giving me your money. You know what time it is. Thank you, Brother Traveris Wiley. Pastors, forgive me. God ain't through with me yet. You gotta keep praying. Okay. What I would like to know, anybody else want to weigh in on anything before we go to the next thing? Go ahead, Reverend Pastor Coates, and let me go to TK. Go ahead, Pastor.
I just wanted to add something. That Brother TK said something in his presentation that spoke of independence and freedom of leadership And I heard that as freedom and independence of Black leadership, which also had a heavy political implication as well, is that if we have free people that we elect to public office, that then those people would be less compromising, or would compromise less. And I think the same thing is true within the church, because in the last 20 years, all the churches have community development corporations, nonprofits, where everybody's on the hunt for the for grant dollars and everything. And these monies, sometimes when you deal with preachers that are thirsty, hungry, and lack integrity, a lot of the times allow these people to, or they choose rather to compromise their own congregations and the community at large by not saying anything, by swaying the community in one direction or the other. So I did hear that loudly about being free and being independent. That's a great message. Thank you for that.
All right. Thank you, Brother Still Curtin. Brother TK, you wanted to.
Yes, sir. Oshay, you had said something a few minutes ago about the importance of having these conversations. And you even expressed a little bit of surprise that there can be Christian men who share a lot of these same ideas.
Yes.
I think it's important to note that all truth is God's truth. And there is a particular philosophical idea that has contaminated the church, and it's the idea of dualism, that there is a real distinction between the secular and the sacred, that there are some things and some topics that are spiritual in nature. And then there's this nebulous other category that doesn't have anything to do with God. And if we want to fool with those things, we got to first find a way to Christianize them. So maybe comedy is like that. Maybe physics is like that. Maybe economics is like that. And as a result of accepting this false doctrine of dualism, we have rendered ourselves irrelevant from this whole gamut of topics that the world cares about and that we need to be caring about as well. And so the children of this world are wiser than the children of light in many ways. When you read the book of Daniel, it says that Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were captives in Babylon, and God anointed these brothers to understand the sciences and literatures of their time. And they were able to have conversations where they talked about these secular topics from a biblically informed worldview. So when we talk about things like positive masculinity, when we talk about things like economic self-sufficiency, these are not topics that even belong to the world. Whatever truth is to be found in these subjects belong to God. As Dallas Willard said, breakfast is a good idea, and I do not intend to abandon it just because Hindus practice it. Positive masculinity, economic self-sufficiency, and everything we've talked about, these are great ideas, and I feel no desire to abandon them just because somebody told me a lie that these things were secular. All truth belongs to God.
Okay. No, I definitely agree. I have a hard question again for the panel. Maybe we'll bring Dr. Thunder. White man's holding him back right now, it seems. But this is what I want to talk about. And everyone on the panel, especially the pastors, have maybe you've seen this in your churches, but there are a lot of African-American men who are, let's say, what would not qualify as academically educated, through the HBCU or a predominantly white institution. But we have a lot of Black men who are part of the blue-collar class. A lot of our brothers are in trucking. A lot of our brothers are in some form of tech. You have brothers who are in those type of fields. Brothers who are working out in the field. Shout out to Grown Men Business. He's making $100,000 on the hard hat. And what I've noticed in the Black manosphere is we've had a lot of our support come from the blue collar class guys. Now, as we have developed more in the content strategy, obviously, some of the more educated guys have come in, the Dr. Tiasana Johnsons of the world, the Dr. Thunders of the world. And so we were able to appeal to brothers that had, as they helped us develop our content strategies to appeal to more of a broader audience. Now we have pastors and things like that, the pro-Black community also too. But what I've noticed is that a lot of the guys who are coming in, working, like Brother Rance Turner and manufacturing, they're making a lot of money. But in other communities, those guys will be respected. In the black community, however, you guys know where I'm going with this, Brother Cedric. I know you're shaking your head. You will have sisters who they will like a guy like this, but because he didn't go to Morehouse, because he didn't go to a professional college, she don't want to deal with the guy. But this is a brother that may own 3 or 4 trucks. This is a guy who's a plumber, and you have black men who are interested in a lot of black women, but because of he doesn't have the educational status. A lot of African-American women are saying, well, this is not a guy I can brag on. I can't bring him to, my 10th year college anniversary, or, I'm for sorority. He's not the kind of guy that I feel like I'm better than him. Now, in other communities, that's not the problem as much. But a lot of African-American men, when they are in the blue collar field, earning good, or they have thank you, H-back brother. Now, I'll tell you what, all you blue collar brothers, press 1 and like the video. Do me a favor and do that. So we have a problem with the blue collar black men getting paired up with black women who are going to college. Now, obviously, when they go to college, a lot of these degrees are not transforming into what's in the economic marketplace or money, right? So they're in sociology or humanities, but they still think they're better than these guys. I know the church is also feeling that, because you have these brothers that have the skills that can teach the next generation of young men, and now the young men don't want to do it because the women are looking at them in a bad light, and then it puts pressure on the church because these sisters don't want to deal with these blue collar guys, right? A lot of times they don't. So how do we service these black men who have done what they're supposed to do? They're earning good money. They have market in the economy. Black women think they're better than them and don't want to deal with them because they're not on their level, quote unquote. How does the church answer? I don't think it's the church's fault, by the way, but how does the church answer this problem?
I mean, my answer to anybody who's in that situation, if I could use this reference, I would say, wipe the dust off your feet and move on. If there's a woman that you're interested in and they don't respect what you do, move on. It's not worth it anyway. I think if you go through the problem of trying to prove it to her, you'll have another problem a little bit later. And if you think that the numbers are not in your favor, I would say visit New York. But just wipe the dust off your feet and go and try to identify somebody else. And I mean that wholeheartedly.
Right.
Cedric, let me ask you this, Cedric. Okay, so I know what we're telling the men, but the church has influence on black women. The black pastor, he's the only guy, it seems like, because when you see when Kevin Samuel says something to women, you see what the negative reaction is, right? So black men, we found out real fast, we cannot talk to black women about this. We can talk to each other about black women, but we can't talk to them directly. But the pastor is the person that can mediate to both black men and black women. What can the church do to let women know that, hey, you're possibly missing out on the husband of your choice because you don't want to date him because the Bible said be submissive to your husband. Didn't say if he, didn't say what his career was now,
right?
But it said be submissive. So how does the church translate that to a lot of the good brothers out there that want to be in relationship with black women, but the black women feel like, okay, well, this is not a good guy because he didn't go to Morehouse or because he didn't go to Harvard or something like that?
I mean, I think it's challenging. Again, if you remember earlier, I think that I put a lot of responsibility on leadership, right?
Okay.
So if the person is in a microphone and they have the opportunity to influence whether it's their classroom, like Dr. Thunder or Pastor Brooks, or if you have an opportunity, then you have to decide what you're going to do. Remember earlier, Pastor Brooks said, I tell them, hey, don't quote me. You know what I mean? I drive a certain type of car now because I don't want me to be your reference point. Deal with your person. So again, for me, when it comes to leadership, anytime you have the opportunity to articulate these things, then take that responsibility with I don't know, take it with sincerity. You know what I'm saying? And pride. And I'm not mincing words. I'm just being thoughtful about the words that I use because it's important enough to do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like really be mindful when you're in a position to influence somebody and the way that someone thinks. And I go back to my previous statement. When it comes to the Black church, the numbers do not lie. There are a lot of Black women there, and they do look at these pastors and those of us who are in leadership to kind of think, to help shape their viewpoint about it. So I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood your question at first. I didn't know.
No. You answered the question in my opinion.
Well, I think
go ahead, Pastor.
I think as a pastor, man, we have to recognize this stuff and be intentional about it. I talk to women about their attraction problem, and they say, "Well, Pastor, there's no men." I said, "That's not true. That's just not true. It's when you're in a wilderness, like God told them in Deuteronomy 8. He said, "You're in the wilderness so I can change your taste." Okay. And know that man does not live by bread alone. I said, a lot of you have boxed yourself into being single by what you're attracted to. And you're attracted to something that makes you something rather than somebody who's going to love you and take care of you. You're thinking about Thanksgiving dinner or how we look at the reunion when life is lived every day. And anybody who will try to minimize you because you married somebody who loves you and is successful and takes care of you, but they weren't part of a fraternity or they didn't graduate from this place, that's their stupidity. They might be going through their own changes. And so if somebody's going to love you and value you and they're productive and they have a vision, I tell them, I say, hey, life is lived every day. The value of marriage is being in this person's presence every day. If you like their presence, marry them. If you don't like being in their presence, then don't marry them. And if somebody rejects your story, then that's rejecting you, and you need to move on. I wouldn't waste any time with it. But I try to get the women to change. Some are attracted to bad boys, and I tell them what you really need is a warrior, and a Christian is a warrior by nature. Okay. Some are attracted to men that are accomplished, and I'm saying, hey, you're gonna box yourself out if you're looking for somebody, with that, because there's just not that many there. The numbers don't work. But find somebody who's productive, who believes in working, who's smart, who you can talk to about things, and you guys grow together and be happy, man. I don't know why people don't have a goal to be happy. You don't need all that mess to be happy.
Go ahead, Dr. Thunder.
Yeah, it seems that these days women, and I'm just repeating probably some stuff that Pastor Brooks is at least implying. Women just don't. They don't want to wait, for the bag. They want you to already have the bag.
Hello.
That's and it used to be that there was like there was a this whole you both got married, you got married when you were young, you developed your family and assets and stuff over a lifetime, and that was what most people did. My parents are like that. They're the only people that they have been with. They were 19 and 18, been married for 52 years. Well, coming up on 52 years. Yeah. And, but that's just not, and when they got married, my dad was not rich. They was struggling, and there was a lot of years of lean living. And then, until it got to a certain point. But that's just not what the expectation is now. They want you to have the bag now. And, that's just not, it's not realistic. And it also goes back to that whole 20-80 principle I was talking about before, where 80% of men, maybe even 90% of men, are totally invisible to women. Totally invisible to women. And this whole body positivity movement, there's no body positivity for men.
Uh-oh. Say that another way. I'm not sure I understand you.
Well, no, what I'm saying, but the whole body positivity movement. That's the whole thing where, plus size models and, big and beautiful and all of that. But for men, that doesn't exist. If you're a big person and you're a man, you're just fat.
And here's the funny thing. The women that are body positive want the muscular guys. You never see the body positive chicks deal with fat guys. Never. Look.
That's funny.
Ask what's this girl's name? Lizzo. Who's she like? She all at the leg. She wanted to eat. She like the what's the guy on the Minnesota Timberwolves that she was trying to talk to. They all want athletes. Yeah.
I remember watching. I remember seeing that. Kelly Price, and of course Kelly Price has lost a lot of weight. Kelly Price is like one of my favorite.
She can sing her ass off, man.
Oh, she's ridiculous.
Whoa,
she's ridiculous. But back in the day when she was really big, I remember seeing some of these videos, and she had like cut up brothers in her video.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. Come on.
Let me go to Pastor Coach. I want to ask Pastor Coach something. I want to kind of change the conversation here because Pastor been waiting patiently. I know he want to get in on this one, but Pastor, I think the panel has addressed something here that I want to talk to you about and the rest of the guys about, which is this. A lot of us as African Americans have grown up, at least now it's worse, but you have a out of wedlock marriage rate, which is, I think now it was 73%. I believe now it's up to 80%.
Yep.
And so what happens is that, my grandparents were married until my grandfather died since like 1955. So it was almost like 60 something years, something like that. Right. Crazy. Wow. But Black women of today are not growing up seeing a masculine man. Okay. So when I think the problem that's coming here, but where I actually want to explain what I think is happening here and what we think in the manosphere is happening, is that for Black men such as yourself, Dr. Thunder, if you were in this generation, millennials, a lot of these Black women have never seen a positive representation of what is an astute, responsible, self-worth, living, having Black men. They've never seen it. This is a foreign concept to them. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when this guy comes about, number one, they don't believe that he exists. They've been told that he doesn't exist, but he's there. And then they get in a relationship with someone like this. Once there is a problem in the relationship, they don't know how to work through this particular issue because marriages have problems, long-term relationships have problems. And so what a lot of Black men are saying is, okay, these women are coming to us, even if they don't have children, they've been raised by their mother that they don't need a man, that they don't need me. They're very independent. Although, let's just be honest, a lot of Black men don't. Let's just be honest. A lot of Black men don't think we don't even think we know. A lot of Black women don't know what they're talking about. That's how a lot of Black men feel. Let's be honest. I know that the pastors, y'all can't say that. But a lot of Black men feel that a lot of Black women in any generation just do not know what they're talking about. Like we're gonna be, y'all ain't got don't shake your head. Yes or no, I don't want you to get in trouble. But a lot of Black men feel like Black women have no idea when it comes to practical things what they're talking about. And so when you pair this kind of Black man up with this woman, she's not looking for anything long term because she's never seen it. Wow. But these women are going to church. They participate in churches long term. They on the usher board, they in the choir practice, they would, that's what's long term. How then can the church pair up a woman who's never seen a man in her life coming up that was, worth a damn outside of her pastor, maybe, and then pair her with the man that's going to be in marriage when, she's never seen this. She's totally okay with her and her child against the world if it needs to be that way. So how do you put this woman that they ain't had a father and say, okay, Black man, here's who you can be with. And no, he gonna deal with all her daddy issues. I mean, before you answer that, Pastor, I got some more stuff for you. He gonna deal with her daddy issues, the issues with the nigga that she. Oops, I'm sorry, Reverend. Don't scratch that. He gonna be dealing with all the other dudes she done messed with and all them problems to the table, all that baggage, emotional baggage. How then can today's African American talented black man deal with somebody that has these issues and say, I can marry her?
Well,
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, Pastor.
You just preached a sermon and taught the 12-part Bible study on it as well. It is complicated, but I think that's what I meant by earlier when talking about dysfunctionalism. That we're dysfunctional, and yet we're expected to deal with each other. That's what we have to do, is to sort that out. And not only do you have to deal with the baby daddies, all the men she dealt with before her, daddy issues, granddaddy issues, but you also have to deal with the female lover she had as well, and how that you talk about millennials, and how all that blends in together. We have to give instructions, we have to teach, but we have to let them know that this is the trick that's been played on you.
Right.
These are the conditions that you find yourself in. This is how we got there, and this is how we have to get out. And I think that only comes by way of rule and structure. And but we need to teach that, and then when we advertise or when we promote that there are good men that are still around, we need to send that message out to the general community. I think the Bible uses the terminology of being equally or unequally yoked. Well, there's dysfunction on both sides. So you got men that are, let's deal with the men. You got men that spent 5, 10, 15 years in prison, but yet they come out of prison. They don't view, regardless to what they did when they were in there, they don't view themselves as bisexual or homosexual, though, but that's an issue. So they come back out, and a lot of these girls that they may deal with might find themselves in some peculiar positions. So it's that type of stuff that we're dealing with in the community, and these people, a portion of them come to church as well. So we have to be truthful about our situation and our condition so that we can deal with. We have to tell the truth, right? And stop ignoring that these areas of dysfunction exist within our community, so we can try to start straightening it out. And it's not on the pastor alone to straighten it out, but it's on the pastor to realize that this is the problems that exist, and bring the professional help in so that we can start solving our problems, so that we can set some rules in place, and the rules may even just be as simple as Black solutions for Black problems. The rules may be as simple as maximize cooperation with each other, minimize conflict. There needs to be a code, of a standard code put in place in our community that at least within a small community, even if it's just the members of your church or your family have to operate within these guidelines, and then that spreads out to the larger community. And we begin to function a little better, but we are in deep.
Yeah.
And it's going to take sorting it out piece by piece, but the willingness have to be there, and we have to tell the truth. And I do believe that the church must play the key role in doing that, because the clinicians that are attached to these agencies, these nonprofit social agencies in our community, might not have our full best interests at heart. Okay.
Let me Pastor, let me ask one last thing. Also, we can go back to everybody else. But Pastor, I will notice something, and you brothers can back me up. I've been living in Europe for a while. I haven't been to the Black church in 3 or 4 years. My brother's a pastor, but I haven't been there since I've been in California. I've noticed everybody on this panel is educated and well-to-do, I would assume. Here's what I found out with African American congregations. educated and rich African Americans go to church with other educated, rich African Americans. I noticed that. Okay. Well-to-do blacks, at least that was what I can remember. Those well-to-do blacks, the Second Baptists of the world, the Shiloh Baptists, you always have one of those. Those were the churches that, educated higher end blacks tend to go to church with one another. And what I figured out was that certain problems that the lower end black churches off Martin Luther King in 69th, the higher elite black churches had more marriages, had more funding, had more businesses, had more professionals. So those problems were not so pervasive in educated black churches. But so my question also to you, Pastor, is in the churches that are prominent, where the pastor has the MDiv PhD, okay, and his congregation is more educated. He has the pharmacists and the married families, and those people flock there. Is the message going to be different regarding these issues that we're talking about in that particular parish or church with response to the churches that are still, and obviously you have some well-to-do churches in urban black, ghettos, because some people, still go to the black urban centers and they drive to go to church and then leave back out. But the churches that have the most problems are the less economically deprived. So what we're talking about might not be relevant. Like, for example, the church that maybe Sean Wallace is the minister of music of, I would probably assume that church is more well-to-do than, another church that may have more issues. So does each congregation, typically have a different issue amongst socioeconomic African-American churches?
Well, I think it's an issue that every pastor of a congregation deals with sometimes, is that on Sunday mornings or whenever he's preaching to a mixed multitude of persons. He's preaching to a mixed multitude. And also we talked about blue collar. Look, the vast majority of pastors that I know are blue collar, bivocational pastors. Okay, so we can look at these churches that you just described, but I don't believe they constitute the vast majority of what exists in our community. They're certainly there in number, but that's not the full picture. That's not the full picture. But yeah, you have to talk to who you're talking to and deal with who you're dealing with.
Okay.
Can I jump in here?
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah. One brother, I think it's TK. He mentioned the secular, sacred bias that we have, or the dualism, and that's a big problem in the church. There's people sitting next to you in church that can help you solve your problem, but their gifts are not celebrated in church, and we haven't made a difference between services and service. And so in church, we elevate giftings that make the church service good, preaching, singing, and everybody else, we hand them a box of envelopes and tell them pass them out. Okay, so you have PhDs, you have scientists, you have all kind of people who could really help disciple people and help them in their life. There are Black people that know how to make it. Okay, we know how to make it in America with all of the mess that you deal with. We know how to make it, but we're raising up generations that don't know how to make it, man. And so we've got to come out of this Sunday morning focus piece. Jesus didn't die so we could have church services. Okay, he died so we could change the world. And so, everybody that wants to be a doctor ought to know the doctors in your church. Everybody wants to be whatever should know the people in your church. And if you don't have them, then your friend, another pastor down the road, should have them. And we have to intentionally come together to disciple our people, not only in the ways of Christianity, but in life, man. This is how the world works. We got people that can't show up for work. If they show up, they're not dressed right. They don't have good attendance. Man, you got some people that are really struggling to make it. And if the welfare rug ever gets pulled out from under them, it's going to be awful, man. I mean, when we come out of this COVID thing, you're going to have some students, man, that are so far behind. And we have room. We have square footage that's only used 2 hours a week, man. We could have those kids in there being discipled, being tutored. If we wanted to do it, man, it has to happen intentionally. And we keep waiting on government. We keep waiting on programs. And at some point, pastors have to wake up and take the lead in the resurrection of our communities, man.
Oh, we're not.
What was that?
Pastor, yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you, Brother Tony Davis, for the. Anybody else want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So one of the reasons I think that the manosphere in general, but in particular the black manosphere exists is because of father absence in the black community.
Mm-hmm.
So typically the church would be a location where young men could get the kind of information that they needed, right. Some of the things that Pastor Brooks was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be the place that they're getting that kind of information, let alone dealing with this volatile dating market. There is, and even guys that had relationships with their father, there's no way that someone that, for instance, is the age of my dad would be able to tell me anything meaningful about the state of the dating market right now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything post social media has plummeted down, and it's a completely different game. So not only, did my dad have limited experience with women, not only is that the case, but also the case is that even if he had a lot of experience, I'm not sure that information would be valid. One of the reasons why I'm interested in what's going on in the black manosphere, in the dating market, is because I want to be able to say some meaningful things to my son, who I fear for having to deal with the way that things are. That he's got a target on his back. And most of the targeting is not by the police, so yeah.
What about rites of passage?
Right.
I think there needs to be some rites of passage, man, where you train them. This is what a woman is. This is what a man is. And then at some point you have a ceremony. You say, okay, you are now a man. And we've taught you to be a man. We've taught you to be a woman. And so now that's what the Jewish community does.
Right. Bar mitzvah and confirmation in the Catholic tradition was basically a Christianization of bar mitzvah.
Yeah. But I think that's what we need, man. We've got to pour in, because the church has to become the family, man. The family is so messed up that you can't just be a daddy to your own children. You got to embrace some other, man, because
wait. So finish saying that, Pastor. You saying something? You want to finish that? You got to embrace doing what?
If you're gonna be black conscious, black people in deep trouble. Okay, and you can't. The family is so messed up. The church has to become the family. Okay. The church has to take these kids running around, man, and pull them in and be a daddy to them, and be and actually help raise them, help tell them. I have a program where we teach you about. First of all, I teach you what a fool is, okay, and then I teach you how to relate to authority, the opposite sex, and money, okay, because that's where most of the mistakes are made, okay. And so, I just tell them, I say, man, you can't be no fool. We can't afford for you to just be a fool. And the Bible's real explicit about what a fool is. And so somebody needs to have the opportunity to know another way, to be discipled, to be pulled in, and to have relationships, You know, we are at odds with the police, but I try to bring the police in, man. Hey, look, this is Johnny. You know, if you see him on the corner, if he's in trouble, man, he's not somebody that you can throw away. We care about him. You need to pull me in. You need to call me.
Yeah.
We need to sit down and talk about this stuff. And we have to cultivate relationships and understand systems. Teach our kids to understand systems. Man, you can't get caught up in this criminal justice system. It's not made for you. You know what I mean? It's just not an option. You know, does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Go
ahead. Speaking of my son, I told my son I was taking him to a movie.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No,
I'm saying it's about to start.
Okay. So listen. So we'll wrap it up. So it was excellent. You know, I actually have my class doesn't start ENT until the 5th. So if you guys want to come back the next, I'll tell you what, it was so good. Guys enjoyed it so much. If you guys enjoyed this, press 1, because I didn't think that this sort of panel would do good in this space. I thought you guys were gonna have a tough time tonight over here, so I was kind of worried about that. But 700 people that showed up to listen to this, you guys enjoyed it. Yes, a lot of people who are not even Christian enjoyed it. So if you guys want to come back next Friday or anytime, I have another slot. I'll stay up. It was worth it. I enjoyed myself. I learned a lot. Brothers are very, very brilliant. I'll be wanting to schedule, if I can, one-on-ones with each one of you.
Great.
You know, so, and a lot of brothers really enjoyed you brothers coming over here tonight. They really one thing about, I'll say, black men over here, they're really appreciative of other black men. That's one thing I try to teach them.
That's unique. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, sir.
What if the pastors here and everybody on the panel, what if one time when we get together, we design the perfect church for men?
Oh, we can do that next. Well, when you want to do it? When you want to do it, Doc?
I'm open. TK, come on, man. Sean. Okay, we start from scratch. We've never been to church. Okay, and so we're gonna design a model, the perfect church that men would love.
No black women in there.
Let's do it.
Oh, snap.
I'm just going to be honest.
Oh.
We're going to be
honest.
They can't be in the same room or something. No, I'm just going to tell you that's what brothers are going to do. We talked about that a little bit, but.
Well, you know, they used to sit the men on one side and the women on the other.
Yeah, but we're going to have to do like the Muslims. They're going to have to be in another side or something. Because you know, black men and them ladies gonna be coming in there dressed all half messed up, all that booty showing. Them brothers is gonna be simping in the church house. So
we need
that'll be a good one.
We need that Gino.
When you want to set it up? We can do it tomorrow. If you got time,
let's design the perfect church for me, because that's what I've tried to do. You know, I've even done bulletin boards. You know, it's like you know, we are the church men love to come to. We marketed ourselves that way. Because the truth is if you get men, you're going to have women. You don't have to market to women.
That's true.
If you get men, you're going to have them.
That sounds like the complete opposite of the club model.
Really?
The club say let the women in free, you get the men. So that's an interesting idea. I want to explore that.
Men that are hunting. The
and Pastor Brooks, it's good to see you, man. I've been to your church in Kalamazoo when I used to live there a few times. Yeah, it's good to see you.
Really? Oh man, we'll have to get together. You guys are brilliant, man. I love being on this thing with you, man. This is awesome. Thanks a lot for the invite.
Well, thanks,
guys.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
If you can make it happen tomorrow, we can do it tomorrow because I'm off. I don't know if how you know, but Pastor Coates, I'm gonna do a response to your opening tomorrow. I'm gonna chop that clip about the feminine dancing and running around, and we're gonna have some. You were speaking a lot of facts with that. I think that a lot of the brothers tonight, you guys have really related to what we were saying, and it was a good stream. I was mad as hell. I said, Doc, I said, nigga, don't you ever in your life schedule me no day. I was sending them so many threats. Nigga, I done told you. But it was good. I'm actually glad that he did. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. He knew if I can just get him to put it up, it's gonna be a hit. I can just got him, get him to do it. So I stayed up till Snuggles, and a lot of brothers really appreciate you. I will tell you this from the bottom of my heart. We've been wanting to talk to brothers from different walks of life, and we thank you, brothers, for coming and talking to us, and just having a relationship with us as black men over here. And I'll leave it to the Dr. Thunder, but if you want to do it tomorrow, if you're free, we could do it. I'm free.
All right.
Depends on what you want to do.
I want you to think about it for a while, a week or so.
But we live on Dr. Thunder to do it. I trust him now.
I'll reach out to folks and set something up, and I'll be sensitive to the time difference.
He tried to have me about, yeah, brother, can you be? I said that's 3:30 in the morning. What the hell do you think I'm gonna be doing? Start at 3:30. Last words. You got last words. Last words.
Here, if I could go last with my last word, so I can get to this movie. Go ahead. Go ahead first, because the pastor's long-winded now. Go ahead. So anyhow, I mean, this has been a great conversation. I hope we can continue these kind of dialogues. I think this is the beginning of what could be a profound movement to bring these two communities together and to fix some of the challenges that black men have with the black church. I was talking about the impact of Kevin Samuels, and frankly, I do believe that because of his impact, I think we're at a time period right now where these sorts of conversations are going to be much more receptive. People will be receptive to it, and I think people are hungry for this conversation. And I think because Kevin is doing the Lord's work in sort of bringing a dose of reality to the women that are calling into his show. Oh, yeah. I think that
killing them.
Oh yeah, I think that absolutely. I think that our entire community, I think, would be open to this kind of conversation right now. So God bless you, Oshay, for doing this and for keeping this going. See you all later, and I'll be in touch.
See you. Okay, and the other and brother TK and all the rest. Please, I gotta get an interview with all of y'all. Y'all just did such a great job. I have to definitely bring you on, especially the pastors. The pastors,
I'd love to.
Had me want to go back to church tonight. I'm start paying some tithe to get you some of this YouTube money, Reverends. All right, go ahead, brother TK.
Well, I see a question here that says, what would Jesus say about this panel? Can anyone answer that? I think a better question might be is, what is Jesus saying right now through this panel? And I dare to say one of those things is that God is not afraid of our questions. We are afraid of them because questions often make us feel vulnerable. They make us feel defensive, but God is not afraid of our questions. And Jesus often answered people's questions with a question because he wanted to invite them to examine their own assumptions. Questions serve an angelic function. They invite us to consider perspectives and possibilities that we would not have otherwise considered. And anytime your faith is shaken up by scrutiny and by skepticism, that means whatever it was you placed your faith in, even if it was God, is something that was inadequate, insufficient, and should be rejected. Sometimes the life of faith is going from a rudimentary, unexamined, unworthy concept of God to a more open understanding of a God that is always beyond us, challenging us to deepen our knowledge of him. So these kinds of conversations are godly, even when we don't know how things are going to turn out, even when we don't know the answers, even when sometimes people would correct us when we're wrong or take us out of our league, and we should run into them, not away from them.
Great, man. Good.
Very, very well said. Brother Cedric.
At the altar call.
Come on.
You did a revival all night.
That's good.
Come on, Pastor.
Well, it's join a black church. We need you. We need you. Join an organization. We need you. We need you in the Black Manosphere. Come to the church and help, because there's people that's there. There's a community that's there, and you're a part of that community, and churches like the Metropolitan Church, I'm certain Pastor Brooks' church, we're welcoming you in. Come on.
That's right. That's right. Good.
Okay. And yeah, the Stones Church. Oh, Pastor, you got a nice church. I'm gonna have to come over there. Okay, okay. Pastor Ballin, I see you, Pastor. That's a nice church, Pastor. Okay,
you,
Brother Cedric, man, thank you so much. You did a wonderful job tonight, brother. Go ahead and tell the people about yourself, brother, and where they can follow you and all that stuff.
Thank you. It's grateful to be here. I guess my last comments would, I'm a millennial, so I guess I want to speak directly to us, aligned with what Brother TK just said. I would say be courageously thoughtful.
Wow.
You know, we have the dynamics that we're confronted with. They're not easy, whether it's economics, whether it's women, whether it's your faith. So don't be intimidated by that. You know, like dive into it, lean into it. I would also say, I love what Brother Oshay was talking about at the beginning of the conversation, the community that he has. You know, I think it's very cool to disagree but stay connected. So I have homies who are Muslim. I do have homies who are, man, I've learned so much from the Hebrew brothers, man. I mean, it's fantastic, you know. So I would say to us also, like, having dialogue like this within your local space without getting upset and parting ways, like just kind of, you know, disagree and stay connected. And then the last thing I would say for us, you know, whatever we can do to prioritize our purpose, I would say really lean into that as well. You know, take conversations like this, and really, really push after them. I think sometimes we get dissed unnecessarily, the millennial men, but now forget that. Prioritize your purpose. You know what I'm saying? Try to align yourself as best you can with what you know, and then just go for it. So I'm really grateful to be here with you guys, man. Much, much, much respect.
It's good.
All right, all right. And Pastor Brooks.
Yeah. Much of my world since I've been saved has been men's ministry. I was discipled by Edwin Lewis Cole, Maximize Manhood. I don't know if you guys remember that book. And so being faced with inheriting a female-dominated church, I realized that reaching the men was what was going to be the difference. And so that's kind of been my world. I haven't been involved in the other stuff. And so we can do this, man. And I want to connect with you younger guys, and you tell me how to stay relevant and stay righteous at the same time, because we have to manage that tension. But we can do this, man. We have to. We don't have a choice. We cannot leave things the way they are, man. Things are messed up, and it's an issue of leadership, man. It's an issue of destiny that we are the ones that reform the church. The church needs to be reformed, and we need to change this thing, and just you know, get a new drawing board. So God bless you, man. Thanks for the chance. I really enjoyed being with you, brothers. You guys are brilliant, man. Thank you.
Man, hold me back. Thank you, Brother John Coates. Oh, that's Pastor came and gave me all this money. Pastor, thank you. I really want to say I thank you for coming out. Want to get one-on-one. I was like, man, I was really, you know, I do believe in God. I not have a lot of brothers that don't. I'm very involved in the Pan-African community. I've been to Africa over 15 times, but I do believe in God, that He brought us all today. I was tired as hell. I didn't want to do it. I was like, man, listen, why you gonna have me in here talking to these? I don't know none of these niggas that you trying to put up. I didn't know who it was. Right? That was my mentality. But I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
And something was telling me, you know what? No, it's always good. Talk to these black men, because they're gonna have something to say. And it turned out so much better. I'm glad that all you brothers have contributed to us. Hopefully I can get a one-on-one with all of you great black men out there. You've really, really opened up a lot of eyes, man. You don't know how much a lot of black men really appreciate this in the chat. Some guys are talking about, I can't wait to watch this ever again on the live stream. I can't watch. So you brothers have really, really touched the hearts of many African-American men tonight. I can't thank you enough. And hopefully we're going to try to solve the question of the pastor. How can we build a church for the perfect church for men? And we'll do that. And any last words from anybody?
I'm good. Thank you so much.
Hey,
All right.
I know I've talked a lot. I'm not going to try to drop
TK.
it down.
Go ahead.
This is a thank you word to you, Oshay. I actually told a couple of friends about this, and I gave them the link. And you know what feedback I got? Hey, once I saw the word church, I immediately tuned out. And so the fact that I can't even get my friends, bro. These are friends of mine, right? I can't even get... So the fact that you were willing to have this conversation, knowing that that is a predictable outcome, that some people feel all kinds of ways about the church, says a lot about you as a brother. So I really appreciate you doing it, man. And I give you mad props for having this conversation.
Oh yeah. A lot of black men, especially in the manosphere, hate the black church. Like really don't want nothing to do with it. Yeah, that's one of the things here. But I'm glad I want to do one thing before we go. Guys, Dr. Thunder was nice to set this panel up for us. I did an interview over his podcast. So did a lot of the guys from our community. I want the brothers to do me a favor and go subscribe to Dr. Sean Wallace, PhD, Dr. Thunder. He has a lot of talented people that we don't have. He's bringing in for us to talk to. So if you guys would do me that favor, go subscribe to this channel. I need all the guys to come, hit that link and subscribe. Thank you, Brother Black Wolf. I need 100 brothers to subscribe and hit the bell and go over there. Him and TK have a show. And so we need, black men have to be willing to support one another. I've been telling you that since I've been running this community. The white man is not going to give you this content to have these conversations. I remember when I first came into the manosphere, and the white manosphere was much more popular and organized. That's not the case anymore, right? Our guys are leading the charge, the Kevin Samuels of the world, Donovan Sharps. So it's because you are supporting the content and the message. We have catered it for the African-American man, what we do here, right? We have brothers that are brothers that are Christians, brothers that are, whatever the case may be. But it all starts with black men supporting other black men. Because if you don't do it, well, nobody else is going to do it, right? So we want our brothers to be able to come in and tell their story and continue to carry the message for our community, for our niche, right? Because you complain about, well, black women have ebony, black women have essence, they have gossip. Well, if you don't support the people that are out there putting this out there, then you don't get, like the brother said, everything operates on incentives, right? So we need to incentivize the black men to come in, want to talk to us, and to do these things and create content for us, for our people and networks and stuff like that. So it starts with you doing things that are for free, which is taking your black ass over there and hitting the damn subscribe button and hitting the bell. And I don't want to hear you niggas shit about it because you already know I already told you already. So go over here and do what I done told you now, and support our support black men that are trying to do some things for us. We need to be appreciative. Okay, because the one thing about us as black men, we always complain, don't nobody do nothing for us. Well, when they do something for us, then what do we do? Do we appreciate it? Right? We have to get out of that. So I want you brothers to do that. Thank you guys again. I really appreciate you brothers. And I want all you brothers to go over to Dr. Thunder's YouTube channel, subscribe, hit the bell, and we see you guys next week. Thank you so much, brothers.